who were torch bearers of management, leadership, and were associated with Bombay Management Association. These leaders, these managers, we are celebrating every month on the last Wednesday of the month. If you have visited Bombay Management Association's YouTube channel, you will see all these episodes, which are very encouraging and many things to learn from these managers. Today we have a very veteran professor in management who has made institution. He himself is an institution, and we all are very proud of having some small touch to our lives from very well-known Professor Y.K. Bhushan. I welcome you all the past presidents, the mentors of this particular program, Walter Vieira sir, Ernest Fernandez sir, and Indrapal ji, my colleagues on the EC, professors, students from NMIMS, whose students are presenting today an audio visual on Professor Y.K. Bhushan, and all the members of BMA who have joined today on this webinar. I welcome you all. It is the great sense of achievement that we have completed 6 personalities, and the 7th personality which we have today is Y.K. Bhushan. I feel very humbled and honored also that we could know 6, 7 leaders, managers who had really made the management spectrum of India, spectrum of Mumbai, a great spectrum for learning.
गार्डन एरिया में करण की गोदी में बेटी है तेजू.
Today, let us first see the audio visual that is created by the students of NMIMS University, and then we will have experiences sharing from all of us who had opportunity to work with, work under, and get the glimpses of the personality that we are discussing today. I will request Seema Rawat madam to tell us that the student will be presenting. So request her to ask the student to present the audio visual that is created by students of NMIMS on Professor Y.K. Bhushan. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Kavita. I'll now request Avantika, please share the screen, and let's begin with the audio visual.
Avantika, audio.
Because in the present day climate, I think talent is really difficult to get by, and many things are failing and getting delayed because of the lack of talent. How to get talent is one thing, how to nurture it and retain it is another. And I think that's a challenge that we really need to face.
A leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Bombay Management Association and School of Business Management NMIMS Mumbai, we welcome you to the Wednesday Wisdom webinar. Here we discuss the life and journey of such leaders who made a lasting impact on the world of management. The leaders without whom we would not be where we are today. Let them inspire you to be better managers and a better person. Professor Y.K. Bhushan completed his education from the prestigious Sri Ram College of Commerce, Delhi University, and then went to Indiana University in the United States on a Fulbright scholarship. Professor Y.K. Bhushan has dedicated 6 decades of his life to the field of management education and has made an immense contribution in this field. He was a benevolent leader with a strong voice and exceptional oratory skills, who never raised his voice or lost his composure. He was truly made of the mettle of a chief, always in charge and always in command.
I feel privileged today to be called upon to pay my regards to late Professor Y.K. Bhushan. my mentor, and one whom I had admired right throughout his life itself, and continue to do so even today. As I recall Professor Bhushan, I recall different aspects of his personality. I look at it from the point of view of how the different phases in my life were impacted by Professor Bhushan, right from 1967. I remember him as an outstanding teacher, as one who was an outstanding developer of human resources, and one who was a leader who was greatly admired by everybody whose lives he touched. Not only when he was developing us as student leaders, but also when he was developing institution like NMIMS, which is today one of the best known management school in the city of Mumbai and one of the outstanding universities in the private sector today. What I learned from him as a leader was a care for people. He was one person who cared for every individual in the organization, whether it was the subordinate staff or the faculty or the dean, or for that matter, any other person with whom he interacted with. I would even say that that also included some of the visiting faculty who came to NMIMS between 1984 to the time that he left the institution in 2002 or so. Professor Bhushan was a great networker, one who networked with almost every corporate and professional body, whether this is Bombay Management Association, it was the All India Management Association, it was ISTD, it was IMCI, it was Institute of Chartered Accountants, Institute of Cost and Works Accountants, name them. And I think there's not a single professional organization where Professor Bhushan today is not known. People respect him for his ideas. People respect him for the way that he would communicate, the softer manner in which he would communicate. Both of us had an opportunity of doing a large number of training programs in India and across the world. And one thing that I was really understanding from him was that of how to communicate in a much more softer manner than I would do it in an otherwise kind of a course itself. He was a great visionary and one who was a great institution builder. NMIMS, as a management school today that we know of as an outstanding management school, I would say the entire foundation was laid by Professor Bhushan and the founding faculty at that point of time. I joined him just a few months after he took over as director of NMIMS in 1984. And I must say that NMIMS at that point of time was an apology for an institution, as it operated from a few rooms in Bhaidas Auditorium. It wasn't really such a kind of a gigantic and mammoth infrastructure that we see today. It was a very, very humble beginning that NMIMS has had. And from that humble beginning, NMIMS rose to become one of the most dominant and preferred business school in India and in the city of Mumbai. And that, to my mind, is an outcome of his vision, his communication, his networking skills, collaboration skills, and certainly his team building skills. Giving that kind of a respect and giving that respect to every individual. Respecting everybody's personal space is something that we all have to learn from Professor Bhushan. When I remember him, I always say that he was a leader of leaders and he was a teacher of teachers. Professor Bhushan's legacy will live on in his students like me, and also the institutions that he created, that he built, he nurtured, namely Narsi Monji Institute of Management Studies and ICFI Business School, Mumbai. I pay my humble respects and regards to the memory of Professor Y.K. Bhushan.
Dr. Y.K. Bhushan served as the director of NMIMS for a tenure of 18 long years from 1984 till 2002. It is because of his untiring efforts that NMIMS stands as proud as it does today. Dr. Y.K. Bhushan was an institution of his own. He has taught so many students during his time at NMIMS and nurtured a lot of young minds. Mr. Vikram Jayasinghani is one such great example, who is now the Managing Director and CEO of Adani Logistics. His contribution to the campus was immense, right from the books and resources in the library on which he would personally advise, to the selection of members to appropriate committees and prompt permission for quick execution of innovative ideas. There is a library at NMIMS, Dr. Y.K. Bhushan Knowledge Center, to acknowledge his efforts. He treated everyone at NMIMS as his own family and provided unconditional love and support to them. Sir was an excellent mentor and always saw the potential in each one of us. He was a leader par excellence who would motivate the staff and faculty to upskill. He would encourage faculty members to attend and present their work at meetings, conferences, and seminars. He knew how to bring out the best in a person. Even though Sir is not around, I know he has touched the lives of many who in turn have attained great heights in their respective areas of work, be it alumni and faculty members.
I consider myself to be the most privileged person at NMIMS because I was able to complete my doctoral studies under the mentorship of Professor Y.K. Bhushan. I came from a school of social science and I was a little worried that how I would accommodate myself in a business school atmosphere. But thanks to Professor Bhushan, he made my life a little easy. He requested me to prepare a list of books which I would require for my research purposes and made it sure that the library procures it. I asked him that why he asked the library to procure it when I personally could have purchased it. And he told me that the library has to be equipped for all the students. And these books are going to help not just you, but even the other co-researchers. I still recall the first day when I met him, I was so excited that I told him that I had read all his books. I had attended some of his conferences. I had seen his presentations. He just smiled and told me, मशहूर होने की ख्वाहिश नहीं है हमें, मशहूर होने की ख्वाहिश नहीं है हमें, आपने हमें पहचान लिया, हमारे लिए बस इतना ही काफ़ी है. I think that eased off the tension and we built a rapport for a lifetime. As I never had the opportunity to work with him as his colleague, but I think as his student, he rubbed off many good things, many good qualities which he had. The first quality with what I was impressed with, he was always concerned about his students, concerned about his support staff, and he would go out of his way to help them out. And he would make it sure that as an administrator and as an academician, his responsibilities are far more greater, but being a good human being is something which is more greater than that. And this teaching of his, I will always cherish. I cannot express my indebtedness to him in simple words. No words will fulfill what he has done for me. Thank you, Professor Bhushan. I know that from wherever you are, you will continue blessing us. NMIMS is built upon your sacrifices, and I'm sure that each one of us at the Institute will always remember this. Thank you.
I've been given the pleasant task to talk about somebody whose achievements, accomplishments are so many that talking it is both easy and difficult. It's been a great loss for us as children. I'm Anubha Kini, his middle daughter. Knowing my father was a wonderful experience for me, both as a person and professionally. A person who taught us a very simple lesson in every interaction with him. Something so basic that we need so many presentations, so many training programs to attend, which said, a person who always had a smile on his face, and whenever we questioned him, he told us, keep smiling always, you never know who you meet when, even in your dreams. And I think he was a dream father for us to have. We loved his smile, we loved his walk, we loved his talk. He was somebody who could speak so beautifully on every subject under the sun. And I always looked at the poem that Wordsworth wrote, The Little Schoolmaster, and wondered how a little head could hold so much in it. He was somebody who was so affectionate, full of empathy for others, and somebody who taught people in every transaction, every interaction, and every dealing with him. Professor Bhushan was one of a kind, and I think rightfully people have been kind enough to name him as a legend in management education. I think management education is not just taught in campuses, he was a walking campus of life. I think it was a great pleasure that God gave us to have experienced him as a person, as a father, and as somebody that rarely comes in your way in life. Thanking everyone so much for their kind remembrance of him. Thank you everyone. We loved him, and I'm sure you would love and remember him too. Thank you.
Professor Y.K. Bhushan is one of the founders of structured management education in India. Over 6 decades experience in human resources development and institution building, a visionary. Sir is best known for seeding the NMIMS University and serving as its first full-time director between 1984 and 2002. During this marathon innings, Sir established links for NMIMS with University of Stirling, Durham Business School, University of North London, and University of Marseille, a leap from management curriculum to world-class standards. NMIMS has since evolved into a multidisciplinary deemed university. Professor has also served as a consultant to non-corporate and social sector organizations. His wisdom and people skills were his trademarks. Some of his noteworthy clients being the Aga Khan Foundation, TIS, and Indian Council for School Education. Sir catalyzed development of professional bodies such as the Indian Society of Training and Development, the Association of Indian Management Schools, and the Association of Management Development Institutions in South Asia.
Good day to all. I've been literally saying something about my father, as I've been told too. It's something like talking about a person who is known to so many in so many different ways. It would be very difficult, but I would like to mention that Professor Y.K. Bhushan, as you all know him, I'm his elder daughter, Sana here. He's been a stalwart to you, he's been a grandfather to us. We have ever been always looked after and mentored in such a way that today we are fine human beings as we feel so. Also, I would like to say that the love and the attention that we got from him has reached us where we are today. He's been a doting grandfather, he's been a loving father, he's been a very nice husband to my mom, Mrs. Prabha Bhushan, who also left. They left together. It was a very big blow to the entire family. Today I just dedicate these few minutes, as you mentioned to us, to say something in those 2 minutes. I have so many experiences to share that I will not be able to put them in 2 minutes, but I miss my dad, and we've lost a very fine human being, and of course a person who was always loved and always will be remembered in this world in many different ways. All my remembrances and love for him. Thanks to you all to invite us to have spoken about him. Thank you.
As a pioneer in the management education of India, Professor Y.K. Bhushan was honored with numerous awards and recognition during his illustrious career. He received the Global Game Changer Award instituted by the World Education Congress in August 2018. He also received the Lifetime Achievement Award, Nurturer of People Award, Innovative Leader Award, the Rishi Kumar Pandya Lifetime Achievement Award, and many more. Professor Bhushan also published a book titled People, Technology and Entrepreneurship, which is a compilation of his papers written singly and jointly, and his major work, Fundamentals of Business Organization and Management. The awards and accolades are an acknowledgement of his sublime vision for higher education and his resilience. Professor Bhushan was an icon who built the reputation of NMIMS as one of the premier management institutions in the country. And to honor him, the SBM Library has been named as the Professor Y.K. Bhushan Information and Knowledge Resource Center, which continues to progress and support the learning, teaching, and research activities at NMIMS.
I pay my respect, homage to Professor Bhushan, the former Dean of the institution, and his wife, who passed away a few months back. Professor Bhushan was an icon who built the reputation of NMIMS as one of the premier management institutions in the country.
I am Ajit Gupte, presently Chairman and President, NMIMS Business School Alumni Association Board from 1984 batch. When I was studying, our new management building was under completion, and we had heard that Dr. Y.K. Bhushan will be soon joining as a director. When I visited new management building, Mr. Shetty, then registrar, took me to Dr. Y.K. Bhushan. His vision and implementation plan made me confident that NMIMS will soon become one of the top management institutions globally. He made me interact with students immediately. He was very clear that alumni of institute will be key to success of the institute and encouraged me to form alumni association. Dr. Saxena, then Vice Chancellor, invited me as a guest of honor at the inauguration of our library in the name of Dr. Y.K. Bhushan. I was very glad that Dr. Y.K. Bhushan, great management visionary, has been given correct place in the heart of NMIMS.
Hello everyone. At the outset, I must say I'm truly delighted to learn that we are making a film on our beloved Professor Bhushan ji and celebrating his wonderful life that we've all been a part of. I'm truly grateful, privileged, and I feel really honored to be given an opportunity to speak to all of you on such a occasion. My first memories of Professor Bhushan goes back to about 31 years ago when I first met him, and this was when I attended the interview at NMIMS. Over the years, while he never taught us, he's been what I would call a gentle giant, a leader par excellence. And here, when I think about him, I am actually reminded of three very unique traits that Professor Bhushan displayed and I learned from. I think the first and foremost, he was a visionary leader. He had a vision for the institute. When I joined, it was just about 10 years old, and he was very, very clear that he wanted it to become one of the best institutes in the country, and he really worked very hard towards it. The second, he was a person with fantastic relationships and great connections, and he leveraged these relationships and connections to get the best for his institute, whether it is professors who came and taught us, whether it is the companies which came and recruited us, or anything else that required the institute to get better. The third very unique trait about Professor Bhushan that I've observed is that he never gave up. Even after he retired from the services of the institute, he just kept going on and on. And I really and truly feel that I'm so blessed to have got an opportunity to become a small part of the life of such a wonderful person. I would like to take this opportunity to wish all his family members, his loved ones, all the very best. And I pray for Professor Saab's eternal peace. Thank you very much.
I have known Sir to be an educational evangelist, admired, respected, and revered by one and all, not only at NMIMS but across the educational industry. Sir recognized industry as his primary customer. He believed industry defined the quality required of our students. Sir's profound words continue to guide us all, and we are honored to have given this opportunity to be a part of his legacy. We salute Professor for his extraordinary and exemplary service to the society.
From his focus on management by excitement and the art of stretching oneself beyond their capacity, Professor Bhushan has taught us the invaluable lesson of flexibility. He has inspired and motivated us to upskill and recognize our own true potential. He has taught us the importance of innovation and the significance of enjoying even the small wins of life. In all, his teachings are a driving force that we as young professionals look up to even today and will help future professionals to excel.
I took over as the director of Narsi Mundi Institute of Management Studies, and I say that with deference to Mr. Adi Godrej, who is sitting here. He was the chairman of my governing council. I still remember those golden days. And when I took over this institution, my first job was to get the name of the institute known all across, because that was a challenge. JVIMS was there, and it had a monopoly over management education. My first task was the monopoly and show that excellence can be achieved in other institutions as well. And since then, institution building became my passion. I've been trying to see that institutions can be built, and I believe in institutions because I believe that an institution is the best gift that you can give for posterity. All the good work that you try to do can be perpetuated only through an institution. And what we try to do here in Narsi Mundi was to grow an institution. Growing institution, of course, is possible only when you grow people. And we thought that we could achieve excellence in our institution only by growing our own people. Learners, those who handle learning or manage learning, also need to learn. And I can share with you that when I took over and prepared my first budget, I provided a separate amount for faculty development. And some people in the management thought that that was not required because we were recruiting qualified people. So this is why are you again spending money on developing people now. And I think money spent in development of people, of my faculty, paid off because Narsi Mundi grew to good heights in the eyes of the educational world and in the eyes of industry. The other thing that we had in mind was that we must develop symbiotic relationships with industry, and we made special efforts to do that. You know, that paid off not only in terms of placement, but also in terms of faculty and the development of curricula. Now that was the story of the growth of Narsi Mundi. We started with just about 40-50 students way back, I think 1973 or 84. In fact, we started. I took over, and when I left, the total number of students that we had was 4,500, which included some of the distance education students as well. And distance education was carried on not only in India but in other countries as well. Now, along with that, I thought an institution should not remain insulated. and must have continuous links with industry, with the world of work, and also with other countries of the world. And therefore, we made our first endeavor to establish a link with a British university, Stirling University in Scotland. Not only because it was a beautiful place, but because we felt that the work being done on entrepreneurship at the university was excellent. And we established a link which really brought the two countries together in the area of entrepreneurship. We started a women's entrepreneurship program which is carrying on even today. And many of those people, those women who came, women with degrees, but who had nothing else to do, really set up enterprises which are flourishing today. That, I think, has been one of the most satisfying features of our work at NM. NM has grown and has become a deemed university now, which certainly pleases me because it's like seeing your own child grow. But I know that NM has a long way to go, and my friend Dr. Rajan Saxena, who is now the Vice Chancellor, he was with me as my colleague on faculty and was also incidentally my student at some stage at the college level. I think that's the most satisfying thing about education is the difference that you can make to your own students and to the lives of the families of those students.
Thank you. That was really great to have the glimpses of the speech by Professor Y.K. Bhushan himself and many who had great opportunity to be under the leadership and guidance of Professor Y.K. Bhushan. I'll request our former president, immediate past president, Professor R.S.S. Mani, to share his learnings from Professor Y.K. Bhushan. Over to you, sir.
Namaskar, everybody. Let me compliment the team from NMIMS for having made a wonderful presentation. I'd also like to greet all our senior colleagues, past presidents of the Bombay Management Association, and so many academic stalwarts in this room. Just a justification or proof that Professor Y.K. Bhushan is someone who will always touch our lives in a very, very positive and encouraging manner. It is my humble opportunity to present Shraddhanjali to someone whom I met perhaps for the first time about 33 years ago. Of course, that's visible on my beard that I am so old now myself. But the first memory of Professor Bhushan was when he used to mastermind a program for the Indian Society for Training and Development called Train the Trainer. And Professor Rajan Saxena and some others in this room were actively involved in that program. And I had the honor of being one of those faculty for a part of the session. And the first time I went to take that session, Professor Bhushan said, "मुझे आपके क्लास में बैठना है अगर आपको कोई तकलीफ नहीं हो." Such was the humility of the person. A person who perhaps could take the entire 5 days training himself had actually involved many of us. He said, let the students get different perspectives. That is the way they will enrich themselves. And he truly sat through the class, not to evaluate, but to encourage, to give feedback on what could be done better. And such was the humility of the person and that spirit of encouraging others to do better. So much has been spoken about his leadership, and I want to make one comment. He truly signifies this old adage that an extraordinary leader produces more leaders. And there's enough evidence, be it NMIMS, ICFAI, ISTD, Association of Indian Management Schools, every organization he was actively involved with, he always ensured that the leadership pipeline was in place. And that is something so great about him. The other wonderful thing about Professor Bhushan was he strongly believed in the power of collaboration. When I met him for the first time, I was at the Tata Institute of Social Sciences as a prof. Subsequent meetings with him, I had already joined the ITM group of institutions. Never at any point in time did he give a feeling that, look, you are working in a management institute which is in the same area of business that I am. Of course, NMIMS is a beacon in the management institutions, entire country-wise, world-wise. But nevertheless, his spirit was that my first loyalty is to the profession called management. I want to ensure that we have more and more institutions which can produce world-class managers from India. I think it is that spirit which is visible today in NMIMS and several institutions which Professor Bhushan was subsequently involved with. Truly an institution builder. Very often people say he himself was an institution. No disputes on that. But his ability to take people along, build institutions was exemplary. Be it the new structure of NMIMS, the entire university campus, or the library, which has already been spoken about. His aim was always not to settle for anything, but for excellence. For him, excellence was a way of life. And it is these memories that we continue to cherish, not only as memories, but as practices we need to integrate in our day-to-day lives. I must also pay my respects to the late Dr. P.N. Singh, who was already featured as one of those managers who made a difference on the BMA platform for having introduced me to Professor Y.K. Bhushan. And in those days, the training world had a Trimurti. Sadly, all of them have gone to the house of God. Dr. P.N. Singh, Professor Y.K. Bhushan, and Professor Sharu Rangnikar. These were three names which were perhaps part of every conference, every convention, every management gathering. And trust me, no one used to say, "Inko dobara kyun bulaya?" The normal condition was, "Inko kyun nahi bulaya?" Because these were the kind of people who in every interaction with you would leave you with a wow factor and also leave you with some learning lessons which you could implement back at your workplace, at the college, at the institution. Such is a person that Professor Y.K. Bhushan was. For many of us who interacted with him over the last 3 decades, as in my case, he continues to be part of our lives in what we try to practice from the lessons we learned from him. All I'd like to say is, sir, we bow our heads to you in deep gratitude and Om Shanti.
Thank you, Professor Mani. The learnings that you had while working with Professor Y.K. Bhushan, I think they are the lessons for all of us. And I'm sure the young managers, young students in this meeting are making the note of it. I'm happy to invite our past president, Sri R. Ramakrishnan. But before I invite him, I would like to mention that for the cause that Professor Y.K. Bhushan was here, Sri Ramakrishnan sir has proposed to Bombay Management Association that as we have every year very prestigious annual BMA awards, he wants to institute an award for the educational institution builder in name of Professor Y.K. Bhushan. I am thankful to him that he has made the proposal, and from this year onwards, definitely we will have a new award instituted in the memory of Professor Y.K. Bhushan for the educationist who had contributed in developing the management education, leadership, and the social aspect also. Over to you, Ramakrishnan sir.
Thank you so much. Pleasure, Kavita ji. I am absolutely delighted to be here on this occasion where we are celebrating Professor Y.K. Bhushan's contribution to the management community and to institution building. I resonate very strongly with everything that everyone has spoken, most of all, Dr. Rajan Saxena, who was my professor when I was a student at XLRI Jamshedpur, and subsequently when I've been his student while pursuing my PhD at NMIMS. Also delighted to meet all the former presidents of Bombay Management Association, Dr. Balakrishna and other friends. You see, I was invited once by Professor Y.K. Bhushan to deliver the Yashasvi Memorial Lecture at IBS Mumbai. So he called me on the telephone and he was profusely apologetic. And he said, I'm sorry, I'm impinging on your time. But I said, Professor Bhushan, you should have just told me. I would have come to meet you in your campus. He said, no, I invited you because I wanted you to deliver the Yashasvi Memorial Lecture. And I'm sure my students will benefit a lot. So it was a wonderful moment when I had the opportunity to be with him, Mrs. Yashasvi. Inderpalji was there, I remember, some of our other friends too. And the way he took me around the campus, the way he shared with me some moments of joy and pride for him, I think it was something that left a deep impression. So to be frank, as a humble tribute to his memory, I just heard the speech that he gave, and that was so, he spoke about building and growing an institution. So essentially, I've heard the word institution builder so many times in so many speeches. So my intention is to support BMA in instituting a Professor Y.K. Bhushan Lifetime Achievement Award for institution building in management education. So I'm just trying to be as specific as possible. Professor Y.K. Bhushan Lifetime Achievement Award for institution building in management education. I'm sure that the way the management movement in India, management education movement in India is progressing, there are so many remarkable people who have contributed so much to building institutions across the length and breadth of the country. If we recognize them with a Professor Y.K. Bhushan Memorial Award, I think in the field of education, that will be like being bestowed a Bharat Ratna for institution building. So that would be a small, humble contribution. Dr. Kavita, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I think this way, whenever we have the BMA awards and whenever we give those awards, thinking of Professor Y.K. Bhushan for those few moments will enrich all of us for our lifetime. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Ramakrishnan ji. My experience with Professor Y.K. Bhushan was also the same, as you had said, that he took you throughout the campus and he was very enthusiastic showing. I think I experienced a similar kind of warmth from him when I had gone for some university visit to Rajasthani Sammelan Institute. And though I am so small in this whole world and young to that personality that we are talking, but I think the respect and the warmth that one used to get when you are around Professor Y.K. Bhushan, I think that is the memory that I also have. Thank you for reminding me of that visit that I had where Professor Y.K. Bhushan was one of the trustees, or he was consultant there. I exactly don't remember, but I think I also had a small stint of my experience with him. Thank you. I'll request our former president, Shri Ashok Sharma ji, to unmute himself and give us his interaction and his learning with Professor Y.K. Bhushan.
Good evening to everyone. A lot has been said about Dr. Professor Bhushan. I endorse every word that has been stated. I must say that I have had a very long association with him via Bombay Management Association. Now, I would say humility was his trademark. I never seen him, like ordering somebody and all that. He absolutely humble person, soft-spoken, a man of few words, and a smile on his face always, whatever may be the situation. So he and I were together at several sort of committees or boards of the management associations, and I always found him, as I said, man of few words. He will say few words, but very impactful. I mean, and then those are the words that were accepted by the others, and his suggestions or ideas were implemented in those associations. As a director of NM Institute, we all know he took it to really great heights. I mean, that was the time when management movement had just begun in India, and he was, I would say, one of the very significant contributors of taking this movement up to great heights that we see today. So I had also the opportunity to be a visiting faculty at the NM Institute for quite some time, and therefore many opportunities to meet him. Now, in management, as I said earlier, I would say in India is synonymous with Dr. Bhushan. Yes, there are many people who contributed, like Mr. Sharu Rangnekar and Mr. So he's amongst the front rankers or the top rung of people who contributed to the success or development of management movement in India. I pay my humble regards to him and his memory. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashokji. Thank you very much. I am impressed by the work that Professor Y.K. Bhushan has done. I think till the last moment he was very active and thinking about management education, and he has helped many of us who will be actually practicing whatever the learnings we had from Professor Y.K. Bhushan. We have heard Dr. Rajan Saxena in the audio visual that the students have created. But I think the association of Professor Rajan Saxena with Y.K. Bhushan sir has been immense, and I'm sure he has some other stories also to share with us. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Kavitaji. And as I was listening to my old students, as also colleagues from the Bombay Management Association, like Mr. Ashok Sharma and Professor Mani, and of course Ramamurthy Ramakrishnan, who was just speaking, I would say that, well, Professor Bhushan was a multifaceted personality. Was truly a multifaceted personality. His warmth touched every one of us. And his love for individuals was just something which is very hard to come by. His humility is one which is very difficult to be aped, I would think so. He was so genuinely a humble person that even if the person met him for the first time ever in his life, he or she would remember him for the lifetime. I would go across the world and meet, and whenever I would meet people, somebody would just walk up to me and say, and when I was introduced, when I was getting introduced as the Vice Chancellor of NMIMS, or when I was at the IIM, that he was the Dean of NMIMS, people would just come over and say, somebody would just come up and say, I was there at NMIMS, and how's Dr. Bhushan? I said, when were you there? And they would possibly remember of one of his visits to India or to the institution. And he would talk about something or the other of Professor Bhushan, which perhaps we all know, but to listen from somebody else was something which was greatly remembered. So Professor Bhushan today is a globally admired leader and an academic, hard to come by. One who was so passionate about institution. You know, I learned from him 3 things which I really carried forward, or rather 4 things which I carried forward as I was heading NMIMS or at IIM. One was the care for every individual in the team, whoever that person may be, maybe the smallest person. The man standing on the gate is as important as your faculty, the senior-most faculty. You'll be surprised, friends, to know that when he was leaving, and even when I was there, I forget about faculty and others with whom he worked, and every one of us have worked with him. But the true, genuine admiration and regard came from his driver, from a peon who would call him as a father. Imagine that. He was a father figure to the people, to a lot of young faculty also who remember him as a father figure, as a mentor. That was something which was very important to him. The second aspect was that he never stopped learning in his life. Never, till the last day, he never stopped learning. There was one person who said, we need to continuously keep changing, Rajan. Whenever he would visit me, he said, Rajan, you are doing so much, but we need to continuously keep doing something or the other in a very different manner. I had with him an opportunity to work at ICPI also. And the most important thing was that he was always regarded because of the new ideas that he came up with, the innovative ideas that he would always come up with. The second thing that the other part of it is that, you know, all of us get into the work so much that you forget that life has many more things to offer. I call it as, you know, and we try and explain it as being saying that we are a karma yogi and everything. No, I think life has much more to offer to us. And Professor Bhushan was one such person. He taught me. I'm extremely fortunate to be with him right from 1967 when he taught me at Sri Ram College. One person who was the most privileged student of his, I would say, and a mentee of his. He had a love for finer aspects of life. Like, for example, poetry. A phenomenal lover of poetry. A colleague of mine, Dr. Meena Galera, just mentioned about a small little couplet that he announced, that he recited when she met him for the first time. His love for poetry was phenomenal. At a drop of a hat, he would immediately come up with an Urdu couplet. Whether it was from Ghalib, it was from Faz, it was from anywhere. And the most appropriate it would be. And that is where when he would be speaking on a public dais, people loved him for those kinds of poetry. His love for literature, his love for music. Oh my God, the amount of money that he would have spent on music cassettes at that point of time, music records and technology. Oh my, I don't think that many of us would have had that kind of a love. But it is all this that was really making Professor Bhushan a far richer person, a far richer human being, if I were to say that. The second thing was, it was a fun learning from him. Every session that I attended with him, he and I did training programs across the world, and we would sit in each other's session. Every session that I would attend with him in his session in the area of human resources or leadership, it was a learning. And something that he would say on leadership, and after the session on a dinner or on a lunch, we would end up spending many hours or many minutes discussing about that particular concept. to the learning on new ideas, learning on style, how to train executives, senior, junior, middle level, board level. It was just phenomenal. And the last thing that I would say that he was truly a thought leader. I said that he was a leader of leaders. I must say that he was a thought leader. The thoughts that he has left behind in institution building, I'm sure people will continue to guide, but people will continue to be guided by them. And sometime or the other, I intend to do something in this area of institution building, and possibly some of the kind of thoughts that Professor Bhushan left behind and taught me may find some place there. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Saxena. The time you were speaking, I was just remembering the smiling face, the very nascent smile that he always used to have on his smile. And all those who are fortunate, who had been with him in his aura, have definitely benefited. I am very happy to invite Dr. Bala Krishnamurthy. I'll request her to unmute herself. My senior, many times I have been running to her for advice, and she has always been very, very supportive at Bajaj and at LM also. So thank you, Bala, and over to you.
Yeah. Thank you. It's a pleasure to listen to so many of people whom I've admired, including Dr. Rajan Saxena. And it's a very nice nostalgic evening to recall so many people who have I had the opportunity to interact. I had known Professor Y.K. Bhushan when I joined the Jamnalal Bajaj Institute of Management Studies. As everybody shared, he has been a person who has been very, very friendly. And this friendship, I have seen it myself with my own mentor and guide, Professor P.K. Ghosh. And I belong to that kind of a time period when Professor Ghosh, Professor Y.K. Bhushan, and a couple of others like Sharu Ranganekar, P.N. Singh, and many others always used to be there as common invited speakers across all forums of management, whether it's IMA, whether it's BMA, whether it is CEDA, whether it is any other kind of a convention, where I had the opportunity to learn from all of them. So that has been something great. How do I know Professor Y.K. Bhushan? Of course, like many, I have also listened to many of his speeches. I've been impressed. And in fact, when I was in Bajaj, I've attended the faculty development programs at NMIMS, where I had the opportunity to meet many of them. And I must definitely mention here that NMIMS gave me immense opportunities to develop and then also contribute to the institution. And I'm very, very grateful the way in which my own mentors at NMIMS allowed me to grow and foster. What are the names that comes to my mind when I talk about Professor Y.K. Bhushan? I'm happy because he lived a complete life. He left such a large footprint for all of us that everybody has got something or other to share. That's something fantastic. Dr. Madok has spoken about him. Professor Kondappa has spoken about him. Sunanda Ishwaran has spoken about him. Dr. P.N. Singh, of course. Dr. P.N. Singh and myself, we had the same PhD guide, Dr. P.K. Ghosh. So at some point in time, we have always shared our thoughts together. C.G. Padalkar, I'm sure Dr. Saxena will recall that he has been very close, and some of the training programs he brought to NMIMS through that. Ernest Fernandez had been one of the visiting faculty there, Professor Mankikar, Sharad Daptawala. So I've been writing around. So when people are talking, I was writing and my page is full with the kind of people and many more to whom an impact, tremendous impact has been made because of his contribution and the hand-holding he provided, and the nuggets or the small kind of wisdoms that he shared with all of us, at any point in time, we are able to recall and connect it, and that helped us immensely to grow. So I wish all the very best to his family, and thank you for inviting me to share a few thoughts.
Thank you, Bala. Thank you for sharing that. And I know when we are young in starting our career, I think the impressions that we have are long lasting, and we don't forget those moments and those nuggets that we have got from our seniors. So true. I'll request our past president, Shri Vijay Jalanji, to unmute and say a few words.
Thank you, ma'am, for giving me this opportunity. Good evening to everybody. My association with Professor Bhushan goes back when we started the linkages with Management Institute as a committee, which he headed, and it was a suggestion by Dr. P.N. Singh. And he said, why don't we have a contribution from BMA? BMA is doing so well, but why don't we have a contribution to upgrade our syllabus, maybe teaching methods, and some input from the industry. That's why we need to have a linkage with the BMA. And that was the committee which was set up, and he really took over the first chairmanship of that committee. And then those days we had a very, besides Jamnalal Bajaj was the first institute, obviously, but we did have a couple of them more, but over the years it spread, more and more institutes came. But we had about 6 or 7 those days. And that is when Dr. Bhushan took over, Professor Bhushan took over. And we really did some good brain scratching while we were doing and sitting and forming some more thought processes in the syllabuses of the Management Institute. That was one point. And of course, a lot has been said about Professor Bhushan, but the biggest contribution of Dr. Bhushan is that he actually had a foresight of building world-class institutes. And I think he was an institution in himself. That's one thing very clearly said by all across the last few speakers. And I do endorse the same. And he was a great thinker. And I believe that whatever we speak will not be enough to complement the kind of contribution and the kind of personality that Dr. Bhushan was. Even I still remember, even as a businessman, I was invited to share my thoughts with the children and school students, college students of NMIS on my logistics management as a guest faculty. And I did that address them a couple of times. So this is the way he built people, he built institutions, and every institution he touched, whether it was dealing with BMA, whether it was dealing with ISDM, everywhere he made a mark. And that is what is memorable about Dr. Bhushan. That's all I need to say because a lot else has been spoken and I do not want to repeat everything that has been said. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. I remember the admission process that NMIMS used to have, where Professor Y.K. Bhushan himself will go to various places and he will bring students. The processes were conducted at different places like Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, Kolkata, Ahmedabad, and so on and so forth. Diversity, inclusion that we are talking now, he had a, I think, vision for the diversity and heterogeneity in the class. 25-30 years back, to get the students for the management program, to have the diversity in the class, the efforts that he has made, I think they are laudable. And I am touched by his thought so many years back that we need to have diversity in the class to make learning more impressive and more all-round. I'll invite my colleague on the Executive Council Committee of Bombay Management Association, Arun Chitlangia, to share his thoughts.
Thank you, Kavita. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Thank you. So, Professor Y.K. Bhushan, a personality, उनको जब याद करता हूँ तो उनके साथ में एक नाम और ऑटोमेटिकली जुड़ जाता है, डॉक्टर पीएन सिंह. बिकॉज मेरा उनसे इंटरेक्शन बीएमए में इतना ज्यादा नहीं हुआ जितना ज्यादा आईएसटीडी के प्लेटफॉर्म पे हुआ. तो जब मीटिंग्स में जाते थे तो देखते थे दोनों जोड़ी में बैठे हैं, बातचीत आपस में जरूर करते रहेंगे, विचारों में जनरली उनके सहमति होती थी दोनों की, लेकिन कहीं कहीं डिफरेंस ऑफ ओपिनियन भी होता था. तो इतने ब्यूटीफुल तरीके से वो एक दूसरे की बात को अपोज करते थे, वो देख के लगता था कि कम्युनिकेशन का ये जो आर्ट दोनों दोस्त भी हैं, एक बात को अपोज भी कर रहे हैं, लेकिन इतने ब्यूटीफुल तरीके से कर रहे हैं। आई थिंक एक तो वो सीखने को नेचुरली कोई भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन काम करते हैं तो छोटे मोटे कहीं कुछ कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हो रहा है, लोग बहुत एक दूसरे को ब्लेम कर रहे हैं, कभी कभी कुछ गर्मा गर्मी हो जाती थी। ऐसे माहौल पे मैं देखता था कि डॉक्टर पीएन सिंह फिर भी कभी बीच में थोड़ा बहुत बोल देते थे, लेकिन प्रोफेसर भूषण एकदम शांत सुनते रहते थे। शुरू शुरू में मुझे ऐसा लगता था कि ये मतलब कुछ बोलते क्यों नहीं है, क्यों सुन रहे हैं, खास करके जो बात ऐसा लगता है कि गलत है तो उसको क्यों सुन रहे हैं, रिएक्ट क्यों नहीं कर रहे। लेकिन वो शांति से सुनते रहते थे। जब सबका बोलना हो जाता था फिर वो धीरे से शुरू करते थे अपनी बात कि भैया देखो ऐसा है। और उसके बाद में जो उनकी बात आता था, जो लॉजिक्स वो पेश करते थे, उनके सामने फिर कोई कुछ नहीं टिक पाता था। मतलब जो उन्होंने कह दिया वो एकदम मतलब फाइनल वर्डिक्ट हो जाता था। And that is the personality I saw, that power, the convincing, the conviction he had, and the way he could convince people. और बड़े प्यार से, बड़े मीठे से, बिना किसी को डांटे फटकारे, बिना कोई हार्श वर्ड्स के, और सबको बता देते थे कि दिस इज योर प्लेस एंड दिस इज राइट एंड दिस इज नॉट राइट एंड यू बेटर फॉलो दिस। एंड पीपल यूज्ड टू respect, command everything he said. I think those are wonderful memories, lot of learning, and वो दिन याद करते हैं तो मुझे लगता है कि जब वो हमारे साथ में थे तब भी उनकी बहुत प्रेस्टीज रिस्पेक्ट सब करते थे, लेकिन अब उनकी कमी बहुत खलती है और याद आते हैं वो दिन बार बार। थैंक यू।
Thank you so much. I will invite Shri Gupte, who has been alumni and student of Professor Y.K. Bhushan, to unmute himself and share his thoughts. We have heard him in the audio, but I'm sure when you have a teacher like Y.K. Bhushan, there are so many things to share. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Kavita, for inviting me. Of course, I must say I was a little unfortunate because I passed out in '84, and Dr. Bhushan joined when I passed out. He joined in, I think, somewhere in June '84, and our new management building was getting completed. So when I visited the new building, Mr. R.D. Shetty was the registrar. He took me to Dr. Y.K. Bhushan, and I was very impressed. The meeting first meeting I had with Dr. Y.K. Bhushan, and I'm sure then I was very confident when I came out of the meeting that NMIMS will soon become a global management institute to recognize. After that, of course, we had a couple of meetings where he was very keen to form alumni association, and his vision was very clear that it is the alumni who is going to contribute to the fame of the institute, and he wanted that alumni should come whenever they have a time, interact with the students, give them their experience so that the young students, budding managers can learn what exactly is happening in the industry. I think this is what was his, vision, which made a lot of difference. Because of this, many alumni used to come whenever they have a time and they used to interact. And today, I must say that our alumni association is one of the most robust legally, and one of the, many people across the India and global, they come and they want to learn our model of alumni association, how we function and how we contribute to the welfare of NMIMS. So all his vision, and I must say that today, of course, we all miss him. But then, of course, Dr. Saxena, when invited me to join for the, when our library was, mentioned as Dr. Y.K. Bhushan Central Library, I must say that Dr. Y.K. Bhushan is in the heart of NMIMS. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you. I will request Sana, Professor Y.K. Bhushan's daughter, to unmute herself In the meantime, as she joins, I'll request Professor Seema Rawat, who had spearheaded this audio visual with the students, to share her experience.
Thank you so much, Professor Kavita. It's indeed an honor, and I want to thank BMA and you for reaching out to NMIMS and giving us this wonderful opportunity. Professor Bhushan is somebody. I'm an alumni of NMIMS, so I'm a beneficiary of his vision, and of vision of not just the institute that he created as a student, but also an institute that he has created for educationists and academicians, and I'm now one of them. So on both accounts, I have to be lots to be grateful to Professor Bhushan and the vision and the legacy that he has left for all of us. I have met him briefly, and I have heard so much about him before I met him briefly when we inaugurated the YK Bhushan Knowledge Center here at NMIMS. As somebody who has not been closely associated, but when I now look at what Professor Bhushan has, when I hear all of you, and in the past few years I've heard so much about him. His humility is one thing. If I could, as a student and as somebody now in academics, take away something, that is one trait which comes across beautifully well, how with such humility he could make everybody so included in the processes that he does. And that is something I wish if one can emulate a little bit of that, I'll be really grateful for having had him around in my life. For NMIMS, I think we're extremely fortunate that we had him come in and completely take a very nascent institute to what it is right now. And we see his imprint all over the place in the way the culture is created, the way the processes are, and of course, in the hearts of so many people. I'm grateful for this opportunity because we've had our new students who possibly have not been able to be exposed to what Professor Bhushan has done. This has been a wonderful opportunity for this group of people to go in, and speak to multiple people, create the audio video, and also read about him and see all the old pictures that we went through while deciding what to put in over here. I think memories were created while we were creating this audio video. And for that, I'm extremely grateful to BMA for thinking of this. And I think it's a wonderful thought that recognition for Professor YK Bhushan in the space of institution building. And whatever support I'm sure NMIMS would be willing to always support any kind of memory that is being created for Professor Bhushan. And I encourage you all to please reach out to us. Once again, thank you so much. And on behalf of the student community, wonderful opportunity. And it's great to meet everybody and great to hear everybody speak so wonderfully, beautifully about Professor YK Bhushan.
Thank you. Thank you, Seema. I'll request Sana to say a few words. You are on mute. Please unmute.
Very good evening to all of you. Once again, as you requested, I should say something. But every time we hear about him, every time we see his pictures, every time we hear people saying so many nice things about him, it's that we just feel so. It's not easy to speak at that time. But yes, Daddy's been one person who's loved all, and everybody loves him. And it is so fortunate to have been children of such a father, like who has been who has always said that I have not you three children, mere to sabhi bacche hain, mere to bahut bacche hain. Used to always tease our mom, are bhai mere bacche bahut hain, tumhare teen hai. So it's like we've always grown up like that. And Dr. Saxena also I would like to thank, because as a child I have seen that him with my father around when he was studying at the SRCC there, and Daddy and he had a very close teacher-student association. So we've grown up amongst all these people, and we've always seen him just love his work. That is one thing which is what we've learned from him. And also the humility, as you people are also mentioning all the time, and everybody says that being humble, just caring for everybody who comes to him for help, and always being there for people is something very, very much dad, that is Professor Bhushan. Thanks to all of you once again. Please pray for his soul. We are just very left. Without him, we have no life, we feel. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I will request our mentors, Sri Walter Vieira, to speak and tell us that when we decided to go for this series, celebrating Indian managers who made a difference, and how Professor Y.K. Bhushan and him had interactions. Let us hear from him only. Walter Vieira, sir?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I've known Professor Bhushan for, I think, since 1975. Very, very long time. And he was at that time the principal of the Bankers Training College somewhere in Villa Padle. And since that time, our closeness got deeper and grown over the decades until very recent time. I'm really impressed with the range of people he knew, the number of people that he knew, and all the people that were full of admiration for him. He did not make any noise. He was that silent hero. He was a person who had a lot of knowledge without showing it off, and a great deal of humility, which would not be mistaken by anybody who knew him as a sign of either weakness or self-underestimation. What else can I say? There's so much said about him by all my friends, many of whom I've known again for many years. And it has all been very right. If it can be just put into this concise form, was knowledgeable, humble, Dr. Bhushan, who was lovable. God bless his soul. And I would thank the good Lord for having blessed me with having had the privilege to cross his path and get to know him and know him well for so long. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll request Indrapalji for his understanding of the personality, Professor Y.K. Bhushan. Unmute, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I've known Professor Y.K. Bhushan, then one can readily imagine, because my brother he was professor of banking at MS University, Vadodara, and he would visit Vadodara often as an expert on banking or visiting, for a visiting lecture or as an examiner. And some of the times I would be there in Vadodara with my brother, and we would have a wonderful dinner. And the dinner was most memorable part, where he would regale us with couplets and shairis, which I have no memory for. But every dinner, every occasion over the years has been wonderful. And the simple home-cooked food we would have, and we'll sit in the veranda of professor's quarters. But what a wonderful discussion we would have. So that was one of the first memories. And then coming to Mumbai, another fantastic, unusual occasion I remember. BMA and British Council had organized a talk by Sir John Harvey Jones of Making Things Happen fame. And he was one of the greatest leaders in those times. He had turned around ICI Limited, the losing corporation, and made 1,000 million pounds of profit for the first time. So the press was gaga with 1,000 billion pounds of profit. And British Council had decided to take him around all over the world to talk about how to turn around business and how to build excellence in business and so on and so forth. So at British Council, Professor Bhushan was asked to introduce him. And Professor Bhushan spoke on leadership so well that when Sir John Harvey Jones got up to talk his thing, he said, I don't know why British Council is wasting money on me. A greater expert than me is right here amongst you. And I suppose I shouldn't say anything at all, So that was a kind of a compliment he paid. And I think it was a wonderful thing. And Professor Bhushan being educated, I think he had spent some year in England and he had spoken in very sort of apt English and correct accent, etc. so well that everyone who attended would have remembered that particular meeting. Then after that, at Narsi Monji, in Bombay, living in suburbs, we didn't have any good library. So I used my contacts and wanted to go back and use library once in a way or a little more often than that. And Professor Bhushan was the one who made sure, that I had an easy access. And even at that time, I felt that it was a wonderful library and he was supporting with more than ample budget, as later on Dr. Seema mentioned and others mentioned that he was very fond of developing library as a resource. So that I have seen him first time. Even if once in a way I requested some book, he would readily call his secretary and say, "Ye kitab mangwa dijiye." So that was a wonderful thing. Then at IES and ICFAI, many times we were invited to talk, and every time the warmth that he would display would be wonderful. I mean, even though we were far junior to him in age, but he would kind of behind the desk, he would rise and hug and all that thing. So it was a wonderful warmth that we experienced. Then many years later, when he was pretty senior, at one of the meetings at ICFI, I asked him, "Sir, what is the secret of your being able to remain so active even at this advanced stage?" And his answer was, he said, "As you grow older, you have to surrender yourself to a schedule." So he said, मैं 6:30 बजे उठता हूँ, 7 बजे वॉक के लिए जाता हूँ, 8:30 बजे नाश्ता करता हूँ और 10 बजे ऑफिस में आ जाता हूँ. So that particular thing of sticking to a schedule has remained with me over the years. And I think it will be useful for everyone to stick to a schedule. And last but not the least, he was an excellent host. Apart from his warmth, the spread would be always so lavish that one would wonder as to how one could even taste one of the things being put on the table. So I used to complain, sir, इतना सारा क्यों मंगाते? अरे कहते आप तो हमारे गेस्ट हैं, आइए एंजॉय करिए, आपको पसंद आता तो खाइए, मत खाइए. But always, I mean, not once, but always, he was a wonderful host and very lavish spread he would offer. So all in all, like everyone spoke, that he was a great institution builder, great student of leadership, a great leader himself, someone extremely unusual, whom we would miss for years to come. And I'm very glad that Mr. Ramakrishnan has instituted an award in his memory. I'm sure that would be something that we can perpetuate forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We are almost at the end. I know the personality is so big, so tall, that this 1.5 hours is not really sufficient. But we came to know about so many things about Professor Y.K. Bhushan, and the young students, managers, can think of the qualities that he has himself exhibited and lived his life. Thank you very much, all, for contributing to this episode on Professor Y.K. Bhushan. I thank the Dean of NMIMS University, Bala Krishnamurthy, Professor Seema Rawat, and the students team for making it. None other than NMIMS can be the right choice for Professor Y.K. Bhushan's audiovisual. And you did it. We are thankful to all of you for making it for Bombay Management Association.
Kavita, can I just add one line here, which I missed out?
Sure, sure. Why not?
You know, we used to have an award at BMA for the Best Management Institute. And Narsi Monji Institute of Management Studies would win that award year after year. So we had to finally request them to not to participate, because then many other institutes would not get the chance. So that was the excellence that he had built into Narsi Monji. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to mention that, because having served on the award committee for years, it was a dilemma for me to reconcile, having to give award to the same institute year after year.
As you have spoken about awards, let me mention here that the Bombay Management Association Lifetime Achievement Award, I think only 1 or 2 academicians are there in that. And Professor Y.K. Bhushan is one of them. And we are proud that at Bombay Management Association, Professor Y.K. Bhushan has helped BMA to achieve its goals, take people together, and move ahead. Thank you all for joining. Every week, Bombay Management Association comes up with new topic, new speaker, new learnings.
Ma'am, I would have one request that I would need a recording of this whole event from BMA if we could, if it's possible
please.
from you. Thank you so much.
I'm mentioning that the Bombay Management Association's YouTube will host this video and it will be made available to everyone. You can access it. We can have the video visited, liked, subscribe to Bombay Management Association's YouTube channel also. And next week onwards, as we start in February, we have speakers lined up. And the first speaker for the month is Professor Ranjay Gulati from Harvard Business School. Do join us on Wednesday, the 2nd of February at 6:30 p.m. this time, because of the time difference that we have with US. Yes, Professor Ranjay Gulati will be speaking at the Bombay Management Association's masterclass.
Okay.
Please join us
Thank you.
at 6:30 on 2nd of February 2022.
Thank you.
Have a nice time. Have a good evening. And do join us on BMA YouTube channel as well as on live programs of Bombay Management Association. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Lagate. It was a wonderful event, and I must say a great tribute to a legend.
Thank you, sir, with all your support and your guidance. Thank you.
Thank you.